The Cryo Cannon is the most difficult weapon in the driller's kit to build properly. It's an extremely finicky weapon to work with because it's just a more technically complicated weapon than any other. The Cryo Cannon isn't a weapon designed to just do sweeping damage like the flamethrower, and it doesn't really care about the amount of damage it's doing like the gunner's weapons. Pointing here and shooting there doesn't kill bugs. This weapon can feel absolutely terrible if you run a mod or two that doesn't pair perfectly together, so this build is going to be important for you to follow. You'll really want to pay attention to why I picked the mods that I do in this driller's deep freeze build, because this is a build you're going to want to use in endgame content. Hi guys, I'm Legionless and this channel is about helping you enjoy your games more. Subscribe to the channel if you want to enjoy your games more and like this video to help me out. The Cryo Cannon suffers from two very painful things. It has really low damage per second, and it's just terrible at ammo efficiency. Both of these usually mean your secondary weapon is going to be what you rely on to kill swarms of enemies with. The Cryo Cannon is also really bad for solo play because of this. Despite these weaknesses, it makes up for itself in having some of the highest utility in the game. Frozen enemies take 3 times more damage than normal, ignoring the need to shoot their weak point. With this build, you'll be able to freeze an entire group of enemies nearly instantly. So for this build, we're going to ignore the fact that it does poor damage for crowd control compared to the flamethrower and create a crowd control build that's almost as good. You'll just need to rely on your full kit, so your secondary, your grenade, and your drills as enemies are frozen as quickly as possible. In tier 1, we're going to go with stronger cooling unit so that we can freeze enemies more quickly. It's very important that we freeze enemies quickly so we can get the 300% damage bonus. Larger pressure chamber isn't that useful because we're only going to want to fire the Cryo Cannon long enough to freeze. The damage it does isn't worth wasting the time or ammo to fire for much longer than it takes to freeze what's nearby and then quickly kill with something else. Faster turbine spin up is a good option for beginners that can't handle the slight delay it takes when pulling the trigger and the Cryo Cannon firing, but stronger cooling unit works better in this build. In tier 2, going with overclocked ejection turbine increases the cold stream by 5 meters, so more enemies will get hit by the Cryo Cannon at the same time. This pairs really well with the mod in tier 1, so that anything within 15 meters of the driller will freeze really quickly. Bypass integrity check isn't very useful with this mod. If you fire too long and empty the pressure chamber, the time until you start firing again is less. Again, firing for long periods of time isn't really what we want to be doing with the Cryo Cannon. Larger reserve tank is okay since it adds 50 ammo to the Cryo Cannon, but we've got something better planned. In tier 3, increased flow volume is just a really easy mod to choose, since improved pump will get the most usage when you shoot the Cryo Cannon for too long. Increased flow volume makes the cannon shoot its cold stream faster, so enemies freeze faster, which is exactly what we want to happen. In tier 4, I wanted to go with super cooling mixture at first because enemies will freeze even faster, but the 150 extra ammo from larger reserve tank is just too nice to pass up, and the extra 3 damage from hard mixture is just not something really worth considering. With the extra ammo, you'll be really well equipped for longer and more difficult missions, or in dreadnought fights that takes a lot of ammo to freeze the dreadnought. In tier 5, all of this comes together because of one very good mod in particular. Cold Radiance makes enemies within 5 meters of you freeze so much faster than it would through just the cold stream. Shooting enemies close to you actually combines the normal cold freeze of the cannon with Cold Radiance, so enemies within 5 meters freeze practically instantly. You should keep firing through these enemies to reach the ones farther than 5 meters away, but those bugs won't take much longer to freeze because of stronger cooling unit from tier 1 and overclocked ejection turbine in tier 2. All in all, the goal of this build and this weapon in general is to use as little ammo as possible by quickly freezing enemies. Then, swap to something that can take advantage of the 300% increased damage enemies take while frozen. The Cryo Cannon is very good at setting enemies up to be killed, especially for your team, but just isn't worth the time or ammo to do direct damage with. Maybe if the Cryo Cannon's damage gets buffed in the future, this won't be the case, but for right now, just focus on freezing things as quickly as possible so they can be cleaned up with something other than the Cryo Cannon, like the driller's throwing axes, which gives you health on kills if you run Vampire. If you want to enjoy your games more, subscribe to the channel and like this video to help me out. Join the Discord where we're talking about the builds and weapons we love. Thanks for watching.